When Sri Lanka resumed tourism under the cloud of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, strict quarantine measures were in place for the tourists to prevent the spread of the virus. However, with vaccinations taking place across the globe and showing progress, the measures were gradually reduced. With that, fully vaccinated tourists were encouraged by the tourism authorities to visit Sri Lanka. At the moment, the only requirement for fully vaccinated tourists is a pre-arrival PCR or a rapid antigen test taken 72 hours before boarding to the flight. The vaccination card translated to English is also mandatory. With these relaxed measures, tourist arrivals since last October is hiking gradually. In November, 44,294 tourists have come to Sri Lanka, and in December, the number further increased to 89,506. In the first month of this year, the number was again 80,000 at 82,327. In the first month of this year, the number was again above 80,000 at 82,327. The aim of Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority is to achieve 1.1 million tourists for this year. In this backdrop, the government relaxed the remaining guidelines for fully vaccinated tourists, meaning that they do not need to take rapid PCR antigen tests. In this backdrop, the government relaxed the remaining guidelines for fully vaccinated tourists, meaning they do not need to take PCR or rapid antigen tests before traveling to Sri Lanka. What's mandatory is the proof of vaccination in English. The government says that a tourist who has obtained the double dose regime is considered as fully vaccinated. Children of 18 years and below who have obtained at least a single dose of a COVID vaccine are also considered as fully inoculated. With regard to the travellers with a past history of COVID infection, where infection was detected between 7 days to 6 months, prior to the date of departure with at least a single shot of COVID vaccine, they are exempted from a pre-departure COVID-19 test. However, they need to carry a diagnosis card or verifiable evidence of previously positive COVID-19 test report, either PCR or a RAT test in English to prove their infection. They are also required to depart 2 weeks after vaccination and 7 days after the illness. Meanwhile, travellers with a history of COVID-19 infection more than 6 months before the date of departure with a single dose or 2-dose regime should carry a negative COVID-19 test. They are also required to depart 2 weeks after vaccination. It is mandatory for travellers of 12 years and above who are not fully vaccinated to produce a negative PCR test taken 72 hours prior to the embarkation or a RAT test taken 48 hours prior to embarkation in English. These guidelines will come into effect from the 1st of March. Speaking to AdaDerana English News, the move was welcomed by industry experts.
This move will help us to boost the bookings coming in, especially for the upcoming summer season. Bearing also in mind that all our DMCs as well as even the hoteliers are adhering to safe and secure guidelines set out by KPMG. So I'm sure that will not be a major issue for us. But it's definitely an encouragement and a boost for tourism in the coming months.
The removal of testing for all travellers arriving in the country will be a major boost for the industry as it will reduce costs for children and families who are planning to travel during the forthcoming Easter and spring holiday season. This important announcement is excellent news for our sector's recovery and will be welcomed by millions of fully vaccinated people across the globe who are desperate to travel restrictions-free for the first time after nearly 2 years.